So this is part 2 of my Redone bookshelf tour. Because I am a compulsive rearranger, things are already in a different place as they were when I did my apartment tour video, so my books have been rearranged too. So this is what you get. Alright, so this one only has 3 shelves, which is probably for the better because it takes forever to get through here. Here's a clock I made that has Sarah and Jareth in it. This top shelf is just a variety of beat up paperbacks. So let's see, what do we have up here? We have Rebecca by Daphne Demure. We have Cold Kiss by Roxanne Longstreet, which I don't know, I think I've read maybe 3 or 4 of the books on this top shelf, because the thing is about getting paperbacks really cheap is that I love hoarding them and then not reading them. Rosemary's Baby. Whispers from the Grave, and The Return of Jennifer, which I actually got from the Lady of the Manor's Jillian Ventures, which was just kind of really funny because I haven't had the chance to read those yet either. I have The Godfather and the Sicilian by Mario Puzo. I have H.G. Wells' The Food of the Gods. I have Just So Stories in the Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. I have the Iliad, which is actually my dad's copy from college. So it's like 50 years old. So it has all of his notes in it. I have The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. I have The Black Angel by John Connolly. And the only books on this shelf I think I've read, Sphere and Congo by Michael Crichton. I went through a giant Michael Crichton phase when I was 13 and read all of his books. I also have Frank Herbert's Dune, which I desperately need to read, according to everybody I've talked to, especially as someone who does like sci-fi books. A Tale of Two Cities and Tom Sawyer, just some more classics. And then the rest of this is Stephen King books, which is to say I haven't read very many of these. I've read Carrie. I have not read Night Shift, Misery, The Dead Zone, The Green Mile, Insomnia, or It, but I have read The Shining, Pet Sematary, and Salem's Lot. And then down on the end are 2 Tennessee Williams plays from high school, A Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and Streetcar Named Desire, which I don't really read those for fun because they're distinctly high school. Down on this shelf, I have the first 4 of the Dresden Files because I want to start reading those. So I bought the first 4 of them. But since they have like 15, I opted to not buy all of them. More books I haven't read include The Princess Bride, which was a recent acquisition. Then the Clive Barkers I haven't read but recently purchased. In the Flesh, The Great and Secret Show, and Imjica, parts 1 and 2. And then all of these are a series of Unfortunate Events books I've hoarded since I was 9. I got the first 4 in a box set, and then all the rest of them I got as they came out. And then down on the end are my fancy, pretty, leather-bound copies you get from Barnes & Noble of Frankenstein and Dracula. I've covered both of these books rather extensively in their own videos. This is one of my favorite novels ever, and this book is a hot mess that I like. The bottom shelf has a big stack of magazines, which are all just horror magazines I've pretty much covered. So it's like Rue Morgue, Horror Hound, Fangoria, Famous Monsters, Diabolique, and also up at the top here, Fairy Magazine. Also down on here, because it was an awkward corner, the Bowie Treasury, which has this book that covers so much of his stuff, so this is a good for Bowie fans kind of thing. High Style, which I got from the Met the first time I went to New York when I was 16. A really weird Dracula-themed book that I found in a used bookstore for $2. It's from the 70s. It's really, really weird. I don't know how I feel about it. I haven't had the chance to properly look through it. And for my fellow Buffy fans, Demons of the Hellmouth was from Barnes & Noble, of all things. And then this one was secondhand. It's Constantine Gregory, The Vampire Watcher's Handbook, A Guide for Slayers. And this one's even weirder than this one. This one's actually pretty cool, especially if you're a big Buffy fan. Then down on this bottom shelf are all of the comic books I've actually read. Because people ask me all the time what comics I've read, and I haven't read very many. From Hell, which I actually haven't finished, hence the bookmark still being in here, because it's long and kind of dry and more dialogue than anything. My Blacks Don't Match. The Munsters. V for Vendetta, which I did actually read all the way through and really liked. I like the graphic novel and film for really different reasons. The Crow, which is the only one on here I've read at least 6 times, because this comic is ridiculously good. In addition to that, there's also these individual issue comics that I got as a birthday present from my friend. And then Oh My Goth from Voltaire, and when I met him at Dragon Con almost 4 years ago, I had him sign it. The first time I properly met him, when he was sober. And then, like many goths, I went through Johnny the Homicidal Maniac like it's 1998, except I did this in 2010 and then read it a few times early on in college, as well as Squee. And then from there read the I Feel Sick books. I also really did get into Lenore, which is why I have those. Roman Dirge is a really weird dude. I like him. Then the rest of these in here, which I don't want to pull out just because it's a gigantic pain in the ass, are the graphic novelization adaptations of The Interview with the Vampire and The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. So they're all these like little individual issue things. So it's kind of a giant pain in my ass. And then the last one in here, which came with my DVD, is I Sell the Dead. I'm very fond of the movie, and then to have the itsy bitsy tiny graphic novel that illustrates the whole thing is also very entertaining. Anyway, so that's pretty much what's going on with this shelf. Hopefully my other shelves are a little easier to understand the rabble. Till next time, Darklings.